Who are we kidding? The guys that have come over and quoted my sprinkler system, they're not executives. They're owners. They don't need an executive assistant. They need someone who's going to help an owner out. I call them OAs, owner's assistants.
I don't have any client who could not benefit from that, but they're all reluctant. By that, I don't mean that they're not willing. I mean that they don't do it.
What if someone was responsible for answering the phone? How would that change your client and subcontractor interactions if it wasn't you that was doing that? We're spending all this money on lead generation. Every single time someone calls, someone's going to answer.
What's the difference between having your assistant do that and you doing it yourself?
The difference is monumental.
Expert advice, practical tips, real life stories. Have less stress, more time, and more money in your business. Welcome to the Cashflow Contractor.
I think I've told you a little bit about we've talked about my trees, I think, on the show.
Yeah.
But we're in the middle of doing our yard. You know, we've done so many different things to our house, from like windows to foam insulation.
You put windows in?
I didn't do it.
Well, I know, but I mean, you got it done?
Oh, yeah, we did 8 windows. Yeah, that's a shocker, it's a big commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big commitment. So we did 8 windows. We did foam insulation. We've done upgraded electrical panel.
Wow.
I mean, probably a variety of things I'm missing. But now we're finally working on the yard. And we're on like a half-acre lot. We've probably got at least 15 mature trees now after removing 8 mature trees.
The mature
these are all living.
Are they all those elm trees?
We've got 3 elms left out of, there used to be 11. So anyways, we've got 3 of those. But now we're working on the grass, the sod that we're going to be putting in. Before we could do that, 2 owners before us, so like 2016 or so at our house, and before, they were master gardeners. And so we've got, I'm being dead serious here, 1/4 of an acre of flower beds on our property. And one of the issues is that there's a sprinkler system, and we want to have it set up for sod throughout. And so there's this massive flower bed that just goes along the side. So we got it checked. Give me what do you think on sprinkler heads? How many sprinkler heads do you think in our property?
I've been there. I don't know. How many total? Really?
How many total?
Like 50. Counting little spray heads for all the beds and everything.
Okay.
You're smiling.
Yeah. 178.
Oh my God. And if people don't know, I used to have a sprinkler company back in the mid 80s. So it was an educated guess. Wow. Are you trying to fix it, or you just rip through it?
So no, we're not ripping it out. We're just going to cap them and then change some of them. So we're going to cap 96 sprinkler heads. Well, I mean, you can only imagine what the quotes are on this. I joke you not, and this happens with contractors. I think some of our listeners will understand. But we legitimately just didn't hear back from like 3 sprinkler contractors because I just think they didn't want to mess with it.
Hey, but why don't you do that? That's easy as heck.
96.
I know.
I know it's
what you
easy.
do is can you turn it on?
Yes, it works 100%.
Okay.
There's one small leak that needs to be fixed.
Well, you turn it on, the sprinkler head pops up. You take the nozzle out and you put a cap on it and let it go. That sprinkler head will forever pop up, but nothing will come out, and you'll always know where it is. I mean, I could do that.
Oh, so you're saying
I could do that in 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon.
No, but they're gonna cap it at the bottom.
Why?
Like they're gonna.
I mean, okay.
That way we're not tripping over it. We're not mowing over it. I mean, 96 is a lot.
You've been mowing over it for. I mean, maybe.
No, I wasn't mowing over it because it was in a flower bed previously.
So
now we're gonna put grass down.
Yeah, so they're too high. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
is not.
I think it's a full day of work, in my opinion.
Okay, but not like, oh my God.
A full day for someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I can't learn it, but there's also kind of a timeline because we're trying to get the sod put in place.
Right.
I can't just do 2 hours here, 2 hours there. Like, and there's other things that are happening. The guy that came by, he's going to be putting, we've got blue atlas, blue cedar. I don't know. You
Yeah.
know, those
I,
Colorado trees.
yeah,
They're
they
actually
don't
from
belong here.
Morocco, believe it or not,
Wow.
and imported.
Probably why they're
But
called Atlas, huh?
he's like, hey, you've got a really nice one here that's like mature, but it's going to die because it's not on a berm. Like you haven't built a mound and planted on top of that. It's sunk down, and so those trees are notorious for getting flooding at the bottom and then rotting out in the roots.
Okay.
So you plant them up on a berm. So they're going to do that as well for 2 of those. And then I feel like he's the guy that I end up moving forward with is going to do a good job of telling us which saw to do where. We've got fescue, zoysia, maybe Bermuda. So anyways,
Who did you
it's a
choose?
big project. I ended up choosing a guy that, shout out to Jay Villamoret, I know who listens to this, Oklahoma Ponds. He recommended a guy named Darren Huffer
Okay.
with Bearded Landscaping, or I don't know what his name is, but Tender Lawn Care is his TLC is his business name, but he has like a Instagram. The Bearded Landscaper is his Instagram. So
Jay's
anyways.
a bearded guy too.
But yeah, they a flock of a feather run together. Is that what they say?
Something like. So, just in passing, for the education, the heuristic benefit, why did you choose him?
So with all these guys, I did we turned the sprinkler head on or system on. We did a 1 minute of through all 24 zones.
Oh God.
So it took 25 minutes at minimum. I think we actually went through it twice with a couple of them. And they just like talk about it, all that kind of stuff. Ultimately, before I heard any prices, I felt like he was the more knowledgeable, was like thinking long term, was, he mentioned the capping it, like you said, where they still pop up. And he was like, but you're not, if there's 96 of these just in your yard, that's a mess to think about. Let's just cap it at the source so you don't have to think about these going forward. You can get better pressure, et cetera, et cetera. He was just really educational. He talked about the Blue Atlas trees. He had a better understanding of where we were trying to go long term. He was thinking about, I'd probably do zoysia right here with how much shade you have. Anyways, so I liked him the most. There was another guy, Matt Hollis. I forget his company name. Maybe Elevated Irrigation or something like that. I liked him too, but I don't know. He didn't. The hard thing is here, this is not the funnest job, because it's extensive, but you're not putting it in where you can make a lot of money. It's just a big, big maintenance job where a lot of things can go wrong. So I could tell like Matt Hollis I didn't really feel like he wanted to do it. So then another guy, Edgar, came by and he just was racking his head and he was like, whatever. I don't know. Like he couldn't even give me a quote. He's like, I'm just going to have to charge you hourly because I don't know what's going to happen.
Time in between. Yeah.
Yeah. And so ultimately, what I liked the most, I ended up going with him because I felt more confident about him, but then his price was the same as Edgar's and less than Matt Hollis's. So he was the same price, but I felt the most confident about him. But he was also way cheaper than Matt Hollis. I also think Matt Hollis is just like, I'm going to throw out a crazy number. And if he takes it, great. But it's kind of like I don't want the job number.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Well, that's interesting because one of the things I thought you might say is that they're the ones who called you back. I presume
it took all of them time. And something I was thinking about throughout all of this, it's always hard with what I do because there's a really easy way that I can help a lot of these guys, like just how I see them send their invoices, how they, call me back, how long it takes them to call me back, and how long it takes them to send me a quote and how they send me the quote. And there's so many things that I'm just like, man, I could really help with your systems. But I try not to do that because I think it gives, maybe later on I'll do that after I work with them. But I think in the middle of it, it kind of gives a weird vibe. Like I'm trying to trade services instead of like pay. And anyways, So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Well, you're underway on that. So you
Yeah.
have done a bunch on the house, man.
I think that's what that's what home ownership
Well, how
is.
long
It's
have you
just
lived
one
there?
thing
3
after the other.
years or more?
No, we're going on year 5.
God.
Time flies, right?
I got a client, you do too, same one,
Oh, yeah?
and he's got a baby. No. I was thinking it was Grant.
Oh,
No, it's Wyatt, but yeah, we had to reschedule, I think last week or the week before because his baby first birthday.
oh, yeah?
And if you'd have asked me, I thought that baby is 4 months old.
That's good.
Golly, just
Yeah, time
craziness.
flies.
Well,
Yeah.
anyway, you consciously or otherwise, somewhere it came in there, maybe just in my mind, but the words "call me back." And one reason guys don't do that is because it's really hard to do. I mean, the schedule and things.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me into one of the subjects I wanted to talk about. We've talked about it before, but overseas administrative assistants, right? You call them
Yeah.
OEs, or
I
everybody
call
else
them
calls them
OAs,
OAs.
owner's assistants, instead of
Owner's
EAs,
assistant.
executive assistants. Just
Yeah.
because there's who are we kidding? The guys that have come over and quoted my sprinkler system they're not executives. They're
Right.
owners.
Right.
They don't need an executive assistant. They
Right.
need someone who's going to help an owner out.
Right.
So
Right.
that's my point.
Well, that's one that I don't have any client who could not benefit from that, but they're all reluctant. And by
Yeah,
that,
we're
I
right.
don't mean that they're not willing. I mean that they don't do it. And kind of
Right.
want to talk
Yeah.
about why that is, how you can use them. They also think, well, what am I going to have them do? They can't do that. I'm the owner. I got to do that. I got to do this,
Yeah.
and to talk
Well,
about the types of things and how you do it.
Okay. Well, let's talk about those reluctancies. If you were in my world, you might think of those as objections. What are the things that you hear that they're reluctant about? And we'll cover all those.
Well, kind of what I just said. One, I don't know how to choose one. Okay. I mean, literally, give me a website. Maybe I could.
So
and
sourcing.
I have people who've sourced and are happy with it. But
Okay.
but one, that's something I got to do. I don't know how to do it. I'm busy today. Number two, I don't really know what I'd use them for. Tom Reber talked about this with his assistant. He said, just get started. Give me your calendar and your mailbox and then go from there. Okay.
Right.
Well, what do you mean give my mailbox? They don't know what's important and not. So mailbox type of stuff. And then there's kind of what Tim Burke out in California calls butt blocks, just kind of something he uses that a lot as it's just kind of a butt blocked on having ideas. I don't know what I can use them for. And so, I mean, that one thing that I, as a matter of fact, sat down and did is write out all the things they could do. But then so that's where we would start. And I'd like you to talk about that. I've got a list of ones that I came up with. You're the guy who lives in that world.
Yeah.
There are guys like me, and I am just me. And I'm very aware that, the advice I'm giving everybody else is different than the advice, but I want to be able to walk any day, right?
You're not a contractor though.
Kind of. Well, no, but that doesn't obviate the need for everything that we're talking about here.
No, it doesn't, but it's just different.
Yeah, it is different. But so I guess that's it. One, I don't know how to get one. Two, I don't know how to train them. Three, I don't know what they would do. And I don't know how to train them to do what I need them to do. And then I'm just going to make this open. Everybody knows it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But this is one of the things that you do.
And we've talked about it. I think we even have a full episode on it, but we can get more into the weeds. Quick ad break, or really a segment, to share with you a conversation that we recently had with Sergio Garcia of Alpha Surfaces in Oklahoma City. Really, it's a great conversation that captures the essence of what we're all about here at Growth Kits and at the Cashflow Contractor, which is helping contractors be more productive so they can have less stress, more time, and more money in their business. Rather than hear from me, let's just listen in and hear Sergio talk.
How do you come up with that idea? That's crazy, man.
As a business owner, you try to find ways to give value, right? So just understanding the pain and trying to find ways of solving that pain. And then some of it was just scratching my own itch. I mean, I had these problems too. So that's how I got Gabby. And then I had 2 executive assistants before Gabby, and it just didn't work out. And I realized that I was the problem and that I needed to have a better onboarding and training system in place. And then I realized, well, that's what everybody else has the problem with. They try things with people in person or overseas, but they don't actually have a really good onboarding or training process. And so it doesn't work out. And so it's about having a dedicated process to help someone succeed and manage them and, all that different kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm glad it's been valuable for you, man.
This is crazy. I mean, I told everybody, like, I know a tile setter. He's an American guy, and he partners with a Mexican guy. They've been running, 5 crews right now. Now they're doing, big constructions. And I see that pain every time I talk to these small contractors. I see me in them. Man, I can't do this anymore. My body's just going crazy. And, overweight because we eat whatever we can because we don't have time to work out. We don't have time to, man, it can't be that way. So when I started working with you and Martin, and it just opened a new world. Now that you're showing me all these tools for my business, and Vicky's showing me all these new, open phone and, the CRM, that was one of the problems, man. I mean, the CRM was great. It's a great tool. I just didn't know, it was you're also overwhelmed that you think, oh, this shit doesn't work. You're the one that doesn't work because you're too crazy busy doing a bunch of little things.
Yeah.
And man, I think you got a great, and it's so noble too, man, to be honest with you, because you're helping a sector of nobody cares. How to say this? You're helping a sector where, if you're a company that sells 100 million, everybody wants to work with you. Everyone wants to find value to you, right? But nobody cares about the guy that sells 10 million or 5 million, right? Nobody cares about them. And they're struggling. They're losing their family. They're losing their mental health. They're losing physical health. And they're losing their passion for business. Natalie told me the other day, she was like, Sergio, you're back. And I was like, what do you mean you're back? She's like, you're back. Your fire is back. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you look happier. You look engaged. And I didn't notice that until she mentioned it. I was like, that's before you guys, before and after.
Yeah.
So I feel that's super cool that you're looking into this, into us, the small contractors, man. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, that means a lot to me, man. I really appreciate you saying that. We loved working with Sergio. We'd love to work with more contractors like him who know that they're capable of so much more, but they're overwhelmed by the day-to-day, by the admin, by just not having the support they need. And I think an owner's assistant can truly transform the way that you operate your construction business. If you're interested, link down below, and we'd love to hear from you. Schedule a roadblock call, and we will outline 5 clear ways that an assistant can completely change the way that you work in and on your business. Back to the episode. So with these, I'll just talk about the process first. It's plan, then source, onboard, train. That's essentially what it is. The reason you may have trouble sourcing is a variety. One, this does not have to be overseas. We'll call it global talent, but that could be domestic talent too. The process is no different, or it shouldn't be, in my opinion. But there's a huge advantage to using someone overseas, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. But this is just for getting an assistant in place. One, you have to plan effectively. You have to know exactly what you're looking for and what you actually need. Then when you source, you can actually look for those things, and you can optimize for those things. It's not rocket science. Yeah, it's not rocket science. It's what you should do for any hiring process. If you're just hiring a body or a heartbeat, it's probably not going to go as well as you plan, or you're just leaving it up to chance at best. So why not have a plan in place for, okay, what is this role? What are they going to do? What are our needs? Now, when you're thinking about an assistant, you want to think about what is your ideal assistant? How do you work? What is your personality? What are the systems you like to follow? What are the rhythms you like to follow on a day in and day out basis? How do you work with others? You need to understand that about yourself. And then you can start to look for someone who complements that well in an assistant. So if you like talking on the phone rather than sending messages back and forth, you need someone who's going to be comfortable just jumping on a phone call ad hoc and taking down notes and, jumping on the fly. Or if you're someone who's very, I don't like to be on the phone. I'd rather read, a memo that's 1,000 words than jump on a phone call. Well, then you need someone who's a good writer. You need someone who can get writing done concisely and effectively, right? So those are things, small things to think about. Now, on the sourcing side, what's important is that you have an effective strategy for gathering a big amount of candidates, but then also being able to filter them effectively down to where it's actually manageable in terms of talking to people and interviewing them. One of the best things that we do is we have kind of a 3-step or hiring process. One is that whenever they see the job posting, they have a very that on the job posting, you're going to get a really thorough understanding of the role as the candidate. And then you're also going to see a video of the person you will be working for. So if you're planning on sourcing yourself, record a 1-minute video talking about who you are, your company, and why you're looking to hire someone in this role and what it's going to be like. Record that on Loom and then post that at the top of your job description. You're going to or job posting, not job description. And you're going to stand out to everybody. You will, out of all the job postings out there, people are gonna be like, wow, this is the guy I'm going to be working for, the girl I'm going to be working for. That's amazing. And then likewise for them, you want to see a video. So when they fill out their job application, we have them do 2 things. We have them, 1, record a Loom that's less than 5 minutes. And we have about 6 questions on there that range from like, I want to hear about you and your family. I want to hear about what you love to do in your personal free time. And then tell me about your most recent job experience. Tell me about the traits that you think you're the best at. Tell me about the things that you want to grow into and things you want to learn. And where do you see your career growing in the next 5 to 10 years, right? And then they record the video. And the next thing they do is, hey, I need you to get a Google Doc and answer these 4 questions about why you think that, why you're interested in this position, in terms of like why you think you're a great fit, what skills you think are going to be best, where do you think you're going to struggle at first, and that you're going to need the most assistance with, and what stuck out to you about this, and what softwares you think you're already well versed in for this position. And just bullet point list. Don't take 25 minutes on this Google Doc, 10 minutes max. So now when they've filled this in, they're jumping into your, if it's a Google form or if it's automatically sent to your email or if it jumps into like a platform like ClickUp, like we use. When you're looking at this, these applicants, and this can go for any position, by the way, it's not just for an assistant. When you're looking at them, you have a video that you can watch. You can see how they talk. You can see how they present themselves. If they took the time to clean up their background and make sure it's not a mess. If they're just on their phone and it looks a little weird and they're moving around when they're talking, how serious are they? And then how clearly can they talk about themselves and what they've done? Are they reading off of a script or are they able to just talk fluidly? There's so many things that you can get from just watching a 5-minute video of someone. And then when they sent you their Google Doc, did they go through this? How did they format their document? Did they go through the steps of making sure that you actually have access and update the sharing on the link so that it's viewable by everybody? Is it viewable or is it editable to where I can change it? Do you want me changing your doc? Right? So little things like that, you can see if they're paying attention to detail, but then you can also read what they said and see what they think. Then from there, you can just do a quick screening call. Hey, got your application. You aware that this is how much we're paying? Are you aware this is full time? Are you aware you're working these hours? Are you aware that you're going to be on call? Whatever it is, to confirm. And then you say, okay, let's schedule an interview. So that's the sourcing piece. Then you go through your interview, whatever you want your interviews to look like, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. That's the sourcing phase. Does that any questions on that sourcing, Martin?
Well, no. I mean, it may start with a plan and gather. There's a whole lot to it. Gather a bunch of candidates. Well, how do you do that? With a Loom and so on.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's fascinating, the process.
Yeah.
But then we're going to always come back around to actually doing it, right?
Yeah.
Because if I'm a contractor and I'm listening to it and I'm going, oh, right, when am I going to do that?
Yeah, it's a tough, and that's literally why we offer the service, right? And I think we've been very effective at it. Typically, we are doing a lot of the screening and the filtering and saying, hey, these are the ones worth talking to, and these are the ones that aren't. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the screening process. Then or the sourcing process. Sorry. From there, you go into the onboarding. This is the one that you just don't think about when you're hiring somebody. Oh, we
But
got to
this
get
is
them a
one you
Google.
selected, is what you mean. You're onboarding
Yeah,
the
so
one that you
we've
select.
sourced
Okay.
somebody, we've chosen the
Okay.
right fit.
Chosen. Right.
We've got to get an offer letter sent. We get a agreement in place, hiring contract or contractor agreement, depending on what you're doing. Um, and then the onboarding is all the stuff that you don't think about, right? Especially if you have somebody that is remote. This is where you really need a lot of assistance. Sometimes whenever you have someone that's in person, it's a little bit easier because you're not set up to be a remote company. But this is where you've got to create all their accounts for Google, for Builder Trend or Jobber, and then you've got to get their HubSpot account created, and you've got to get an open phone account created, a Slack account created for them. You've got to add them to all of your shared drives that you use as a company and all the spreadsheets that you want them to use. And then you've got to get their payment information where you're going to send payment and upload that to your payment platform and schedule their payments. It's all of the administrative things that you have to get set up for someone to effectively do their job for you as an assistant. And what's hard with that for the assistant role specifically is you've then got to integrate those accounts with your accounts. So in Gmail, you've got to do delegated email. Instead of giving them your login, actually just give them delegated access so they can just view your inbox. You've got to share your Google Calendar. You've got to, give them certain level permissions on different accounts. That's all the onboarding stuff that people kind of forget. And then the first week kind of goes to crap because they can't access this and it's frustrating. And then they're not being able to work. You just want to have that done and all set up before they even start, right? So that's the onboarding. And then you've got the training. Finally, you're actually getting into the role. They're getting started. And typically what we see with training is they talk about the things that they already do in the training, but especially with the assistant role, they've never had most people that we work with have never had an assistant. So how do you train someone for a role that's never existed? And if you're only training them on things that you already have done, but you're really not enjoying how things are being done because you're dropping the ball, things are falling through the cracks, and you feel like chaos, you're going to train them on the chaotic system, right? So that's where you want to go, and you actually need to think about what are we doing to change a lot of things that we don't like? What are we doing to upgrade and enhance what we're doing? Coming up with new systems, coming up with new processes for them to follow. And then it's not just about the processes that we use. Two things that we love to talk about with the people we work with are rhythms and practices. Rhythms are the things that are on your calendar, the things that are happening regularly. It's a morning call, it's a weekly production meeting, it's weekly client updates. It's the things that are just rhythms that we fall through. And rhythms are not meant to last forever, right? You may start with, hey, every single morning my assistant's going to call me from 8:15 to 8:45, and they're going to lead me through a morning call where they talk about what do they have on the agenda today? What are the things they have questions about? What are they going to be working on? When are we going to check back in? What are things I need to be aware of in my inbox? All that kind of stuff. But then after 2-3 weeks, you get into a rhythm and you've gotten your inbox to inbox 0, and your calendar is really streamlined, and there's not as many questions. Oh, well, let's just do a Monday morning call, and we'll do that for the week, and then we'll just check in as needed. So rhythms should change, but rhythms are extremely important to having a successful relationship with really any employee, especially that's reporting to you, but specifically an assistant. And then your practices. How do you like to receive messages? What's the format that you like documents to be in? What's the level of decision making you want them to have? What triggers what? It's basic practices. An example might be that whenever you send me a link via email, I always want you to hyperlink it. I never want to see www.google.com/doc/whatever, because I don't know what that is. I want to be able to look at what I'm clicking and say exactly
with
what
the
it is.
label on
It's a
it.
very
Yeah.
small practice, but it's the details that matter. When you write emails, I don't want you to write in paragraph form where it stretches across the screen, my entire screen, and I've got to follow it and then scroll to the side. No, I want you to write in lines, statements, bullet points, really quick. I should be able to see it on mobile without having it go to another line break, because that's easiest for me to follow. I never want you to write an email that's more than 500 words because I don't want to sit here and read email all day, right? Let's 200 words or less, right? Get to the point. If it's longer than that, let's jump on a phone call. When you answer the phone, I don't want you to ask, how are you? I want you to say, what's going on? How can I help? I cut the crap. Let's get right to
Yeah.
it. These are small practices, but they make a big difference into how you operate daily, into how you interact with your assistant. Because when you don't work on these things, you get frustrated and you think that the assistant sucks. But the reality is you didn't do enough work to make this assistant that you've hired successful in this working relationship. So that's kind of in a nutshell the process.
Yeah.
Quick ad break to tell you a little bit about OpenPhone. If you're a contractor that has a single cell phone, you're probably inundated with text messages and phone calls, oftentimes that you can't be responsive to or that you can't answer at all. So what's the solution? You can buy another office line with Verizon or AT&T, and you can have an iPhone that is passed around from employee to employee, depending on who's on call. But what if there's a better way? What if there's a way that you can have all your phone calls recorded to go back and listen to later, transcribed with summaries so that you can get a quick glance at what happened during the phone call, and even connect it to your CRM where all your other customer information is? OpenPhone is the perfect solution because it does just that. You're able to add all the users you need to for whoever needs to have access to the lines for your company phone. And then you can also find all of the information you need at a glance with a centralized location for all phone calls and text messages with your customers. Whether it's for marketing, for sales, or for service, OpenPhone is the perfect solution for you and your team. If you're interested, we have an offer down the show notes from OpenPhone. Please click the link down the show notes, or you can see it here on your screen to be able to find more information about OpenPhone. Thanks for listening. Back to the episode.
There's two things I really want to go through, and that's all the things that somebody could do that our listeners might not be thinking about, that they go, oh, maybe this would be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
The things like the cost, right? And writing let's start with that thing. I mean, you can list the places. I mean, I think I have 20 places that I wrote down, 20 things that an assistant can do for you.
Okay.
That
let's just talk about real people, like real things let's just talk about real, like people that we've hired for, and then people what they're actually doing.
Okay.
So like you go through yours. Well, you mentioned Grant earlier. We're in the middle of doing this with Grant Gill.
He's on top of the world.
Shout out Grant if you're listening.
If he's
what do you mean he's on top of the world?
He's loving it. He says, "Oh my God, I've got all this time to do things that he needs to do." In Dominica, right?
Dominica.
She's not even fully trained and fully up to speed yet, and he's already can tell the difference. And when I talk to him as a coach, I say, we need to know this, we need to do this, we need to track that. Well, if it's just him, and I give him 4 of those things, it's like drinking from the fire hose, right? Tsunami. Boom. He's got people now. He goes, oh yeah, that's something Dominica can do. Matter of fact, she probably already is. In passing, I'd like to say that the people that I have who have assistants, whether they were sourced through you or are successfully somewhere else, sourced elsewhere, most of the assistants tend to take their jobs very seriously. In other words, if you tell them, I need these 5 numbers added up and on my desk at 9:00 every Tuesday morning, think cash flow, something like that, they'll be there.
Yeah.
And I hate to say, and there are absolutely many, many, many great employees, but man, there are a lot of people that, well, I got busy or you gave me something, Now it seems to me that the assistants tend to, the good ones, I mean, otherwise they're not around, but tend to take it seriously. We should talk
Well,
about.
I mean, put yourself in the shoes of an assistant. There's a lot of stakeholders, but you've only got one client. And that's actually really clear. That's clarifying. I've only got to worry about Martin.
Yeah, it's not
If
even the
Martin's,
company; it's Martin.
it's not the company. What does Martin need? And so if you just had to worry about one person, how much more clear would it be about what you need to do? Yes,
Right.
it matters how we communicate to the client. Yes, we need to make sure that we delegate things properly to the team if Martin asks me to, right? But at the end of the day, I'm optimizing everything for Martin, right? And so because of that, it's much easier to take seriously because if Martin says it, and I can
Right.
push back if I can say, hey, you've got 6 meetings today, Martin. There's no way that you're going to get these tasks done. I'm going to put them on your calendar for tomorrow. You're not going to have time.
Yeah.
Right? I can optimize for Martin, but at the end of the day, I'm doing everything for Martin. And so
Yeah.
you say assistants take it seriously. Well, yeah, they do because they know they're one client and especially that's why it's worth investing that time in that relationship of, doing a morning call, doing, a weekly production meeting, doing a weekly recap, tracking scorecards, all these different practices and rhythms that take time and it's an investment. It's something you don't have on your plate now. How are you going to add all that stuff? Well, if you add all those types of things, you'll be doing a lot less of data entry and email management and calendar management. Like you'll have that time back. But
Right.
it just if you want them to treat you successfully as a client, if you think of it in that perspective, then you want to meet with them and give them as much time and resources as you can.
To help you. Yeah. And so that was kind of an aside from me starting down the list of things that they can do that. I mean, I was surprised what I came up with. First of all, email and calendar management. That's
Mhm.
a pretty common one I hear about. Kind of a big document preparation by that. I mean, they're formatting estimates, proposals, change orders, subcontractor agreements. They're updating and changing systems and SOPs. Anyway, that
Yeah,
warranty
it's a lot.
packets.
Let's
Okay.
start with the email one first,
Okay.
just to start with, right? Um, let's start with email. For a lot of people, not just contractors, not just business owners, they use their email as, hey, if it's unread, I need to get to it. If it's read, it's okay, it's kind of taken care of, and they just leave it in their inbox, right? They don't delete any emails. And that's not a great system. And I think we've talked a little bit about getting things done on the podcast, but really, I want you to picture what if you looked in your inbox and you just had a clear list of, hey, these are the actions that I need to do. Not necessarily right now. I can do them right now, but when I have time, I need to do these actions. There's these 5 emails. These are actions. Here are the things that I'm waiting on people for. I need a reply back from them, whether that's someone on my team, whether that's someone external. But here's the things that I'm waiting for. And then here's the emails that I just need to read, right? It's an, update on a project from a subcontractor. It's a financial report from my accountant. It's just something I need to read. I don't really need to take action, but it's something to just notify me. If you just logged in your email and you had those 3 things every single day that were already organized by your assistant, and you could see them, that should be pretty life changing.
Yeah.
Rather
And
than
then
just looking at
everything
an
else
inbox.
is archived or somewhere you can go look at it if you want to.
Exactly. Yeah, you can see it. Nothing's been deleted, right? But your inbox is at 0.
Right.
Nothing
Because
new.
it's in archives or
Everything's
in
been
folders.
categorized into actions. You're waiting on this, or you need to read this. And then everything else, you just click all mail and you can see everything that is in your Gmail, right? Or your Outlook.
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
an
and then
assistant
the
can do for
question
you every
people
day.
have that kind of wonder about it, how in the world can they understand me well enough to select? I don't want them
At the
miscategorizing
end
a
of the
really
day, you're a
important.
business owner and you're not as unique as you think you are. I mean,
Yeah,
you
there
are
you go.
unique, but you're not as unique as you really think you are, right? There's only 4 functions of business, right?
Yeah.
So you'll see it
Yeah.
eventually.
And I mean, big time, 100 million, $1 billion companies, CEO's not answering his own email. Right.
Well, and maybe they are because that's the only thing they're doing.
Yeah.
Everything else is
3
done
of
by
them.
their
Yeah.
assistant,
Yeah.
They're able to sit there and they're looking at only the emails that they need to reply to, and then they don't have to worry about anything else. They
Right.
just do their emails and their meetings. So on the calendar, the reality is either people are over what I see typically. Sometimes people are fantastic with their calendar, but most of the time they've got a what I call a pseudo calendar where this happened with Sergio Garcia. He had on his calendar time blocked. Okay, I drop the kids off here, and then I'm in the office from this time to this time, and I take lunch at this time every
Yeah,
day,
he's
and then
doing time
I'm
blocking on his calendar.
yeah. And what I've learned with time blocking is that it's a farce. He's not eating lunch at 11:45 every single day. There's no chance, right? He's on a job site here. He's got to be in the shop talking to these guys. He's got a meeting all across town. It's just not going to happen. And then the opposite of that time blocking, it's filled with all these boxes and all these colors that actually don't mean anything, is there's just nothing on the calendar. And people don't even log into a digital calendar.
I got to push back 1 second on the blocking. I agree with you. If you're doing it by 30 minutes, like a lot of people recommend, as I even used to, so you got green and orange and yellow and lunch and blue and end of day and read emails and don't read emails. But if you take Friday afternoons or Thursday mornings, then they're marketing. In other words, they're talking to customers, they're doing design. And the thing about, just in passing, this isn't about time blocking, but if you do that, you at least take somebody says, hey, when can you meet? And you go, I don't know, what works for you? And they go, Thursday. Go, okay. No, you can say not Thursday afternoon. So anyway, Go ahead.
No, I
But I
wouldn't
get
call
your
that time
point.
blocking.
Well, you're
Right?
not doing every 30 minutes, every hour, but
Here's what I'll say about that. Your calendar should be sacred.
there you go.
What I mean by that is, if it's on your calendar, you better
You're
damn be
doing
there. That is exactly what you're doing, right? And if you say that, hey, Friday mornings are, sales calls only, then that's on your calendar, you better be doing it. What I would rather see is, okay, I know in general that Friday mornings are always going to be sales only, and my assistant knows that. And I'd rather see you, hey, I've got 10 minutes for calling John. I've got 10 minutes for calling Richard. I've got 10 minutes for calling Natalie. I've got 10 minutes for calling Lisa. And then you're calling those people at that time, in my opinion. Now, you can say, hey, I've got this long list of people I got to call, and I've got 1 hour for calls. But I'm doing that exactly. And if you didn't do it, then you need to stop time blocking. But if you're following that to a T, then great. Because what happens is you end up saying, oh, okay, I've got Friday mornings are sales calls. And then daughter's sick, so you got to stay home and you can't go and do sales calls. And then fire comes from someone on your team calling, oh, we got this urgent thing, and then you go do that. And all you've done is lied to yourself that you're doing sales calls on Friday morning.
Right.
And so my opinion is, if it's on the calendar, it's sacred, you better be at it. Right. So.
And you've got your assistant posting that stuff, reminding.
Well, and that's the other thing about an assistant. If you say Friday morning are sales calls and you're struggling to make that happen, you can literally just say, hey, you're my assistant. We are doing sales calls on Friday mornings. And then your assistant jumps on a Zoom with you, Google Meet, whatever. Or if it's in person, they're sitting in your office and they are just holding you accountable to making sure that you're doing sales calls all Friday morning. That's it. And now you've got someone, most people aren't going to just like ghost someone on a meeting, but they'll ghost themselves if it's just something they had time blocked on their calendar.
Right.
Yep. But now, because my assistant's there, I've got accountability, and it's gonna happen.
Okay, so let's move. We've got a bunch of things I want people to hear about, to think about.
So we covered email and calendar.
Yeah, email
those are
and calendar.
things.
I have up high document preparation. That maybe isn't even the most urgent thing, but by that I mean they keep the wording in your contract right. They fill out the proposals. They need your language to do that. Maybe contracts with subcontractors. They're updating your SOPs. You make a change. We talk about it. They do it. They make sure. That's one of the really big things. Systems get written during the drive to write systems. And then there are 5 changes along the way. And pretty soon they quit getting the system doesn't get updated. Well, if that's their responsibility and that's on their calendar to check on that. So document preparation. I mean, is that straightforward or?
Yeah. So let's take it step by step here. So typically we don't recommend putting SOPs in for a smaller business right away. I think they're very valuable, but I'd start with a checklist just because
Okay, checklist.
it's gonna change. You're having an admin for the first time assisting you, and you are using all these old processes that worked for you as a business owner. But if someone's at a computer all day, how would that look different, right? So first, just checklists, and have your assistant document as they go. Hey, whenever we add a deal to our CRM, this is how we do it. Checklist. Did you get address? Did you get price? Did you get close date?
Yeah.
Right? So just checklist. And let's follow that for a little bit. And let's make sure
I'd
that
like to point out, what's the difference between having your assistant do that and you doing it yourself? What's the difference?
the difference is monumental, because for you, you're not going to follow checklists.
You're not going to create it either.
Well, you're not going to create it, but
I
let's
mean,
just be clear. As
you're not gonna
entrepreneurs,
do
as
it.
business owners, we like the idea of systems, but we
Right.
are the first person to break them.
Right.
We are not you're not sitting there looking at an SOP and say, okay, so I do this and then I do this and then no, that's not going to happen, right? You're just going to get to the quickest way to get there, or you're going to delegate it to somebody else, right?
Yep.
So what's nice about the assistant doing it is that they're actually going to use it. Whereas if you create the system, you might do it once and then it's just, okay, it's filed and someone else can use this.
Well,
But
they can
you
also
want someone
help
who's
you
going to be
write.
exactly
Write the checklist for what the guys are going to do.
exactly.
Say, hey, add this, or talk to the foreman, call him
Yeah.
up and ask him what standard things he thinks, and begin. And it's their
Yeah.
responsibility to keep it up.
And because they're the ones that are using this day in and day out,
Yep.
when they realize that something doesn't need to be on the SOP or something doesn't need to be on the checklist, they update it, right?
Right.
And so because they wrote it themselves and because they're using it every day, it actually gets used, it actually gets updated, and it's actually accurate, right? So that's the big thing. Then from there, when you get them to start writing them, what's nice about that is that you can focus on just getting the end state. Like there's really three things that you want to get down. You want to get the purpose of the checklist, of the SOP, of the process, whatever it is. You want to get at what the ideal end state is, right? So what does this look like when it's perfectly
Outcome.
done, right? What's the outcome of it? And then from there, you want to get a really good idea of all the resources, access, tools necessary. Hey, if you don't have access to our Google Workspace account and this shared drive, you can't do this at all, right? So if you have those three things down and you give that to your assistant, they can fill out the rest, right? So what that looks like is you record a little video, you send it to your assistant. I need a checklist. We need to make a checklist for this. And even once you get in the rhythm of that, ideally your assistant's documenting their job and they're creating those automatically. But again, these are great things, but these aren't the things that are immediately going to relieve you as an owner, because you weren't using SOPs in the first place. This is like an added
I'm just
for future.
talking about all the things that make a company great ultimately, or are part of it, that this person that you hire can do for you. Some of them are today, some of them are later, but there's just a boatload of them. And the sole purpose for me bringing it up is just like my own brain. Well, what would I use them for? Oh, they can do my calendar. Okay. Well, there's a lot more than that. And right. I mean, that's just kind of the order that we put them in is not maybe the order I wrote it. It isn't the order that I've got them typed out here, but
I'm trying to think of the things that are like immediately going to relieve the business owner. I mean, one thing is answering the phone. And
I didn't even have that on here.
That's the first thing. What if someone was responsible for answering the phone, and if they missed a call, they have to get back to them the same day? How would that change your client and subcontractor interactions if it wasn't you that was doing that, right? Not saying that you can't answer calls or you can't make calls, but what if, hey, every single time someone calls, we're spending all this money on lead generation, someone's going to answer. We have this great client that we're excited to work with. When they call, someone's going to answer, right? Like that can change a lot. The subcontractors on site, ready to fix the problem, somebody answers. Not, oh, well, we missed it, and then they left, right? Those are the things that really make a difference. Next thing, and this one's probably one of the most impactful to actually closing deals, generating revenue, feeling better, doing better pricing. If you can have a very clear pricing strategy that you can work on with your assistant, that you can have your assistant, consult with ChatGPT on the best way to do this, that you can figure out what your margin is. You can have a very clear pricing strategy where you have, there's an easy input that you put into a spreadsheet and it generates the price. All you have to do, you're going to do my sprinkler system, right? You've come over and you've recognized, holy cow, we've got 178 heads and 96 need to be capped and 40 need to be changed to rotors. And then, 7 need to be repaired. Well, you just record a video walking through my yard saying, okay, there's not 178 heads. These ones need to be changed to this. These need to be changed to this. Da, 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 da. You send the video to your assistant. Your assistant transcribes the video. Your assistant puts that into ChatGPT. You then uses ChatGPT to create the proposal and the actual writing of it. And then they plug in those numbers into their pricing spreadsheet. They generate a proposal or a quote, and they send that within 2 hours of you being on site, rather than you waiting 5 days to send me an email on a weekend, because that's when you have time to get to it, with what the price is. And it's, a really poorly formatted document, right?
Related
That makes a
to
huge
that,
difference.
another one that makes a huge difference, because you know where I'm always coming from, is cost accounting, so that you know what margins you're actually getting is
Exactly.
so hard. I mean, I've talked about it so much, but I'll say it again. It's so hard because deposits are counted as income and all that. So you don't know without really, really good books. You don't know by your books. But, and we have somebody doing this, one of whom I talked to yesterday, his assistant, going to collect the time and material specific to a job. And I don't care if you keep that information in QuickBooks or if you do it on a spreadsheet, but you're doing your job costing. So regardless that your books are kind of jacked up and not timely, you've got that information, that is something that most owners, well, really, really, really good owners, or some people who've been around a long time, because the guy has a yellow legal pad and he keeps that information all the time. Most people don't know. And so it's a follow on to what you just said.
Yeah.
Do job costing.
Job costing. Absolutely.
It backs up the pricing. I'm always scared to death when I find people that go, oh, I got a formula, I go, ooh, let's go look at this.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's lots of things can go on.
So here's another thing that can really change. I'll give you 2 more. And then we can, I don't know how you want to go from there. A one that makes a huge difference. Slack. I know people might use it, might not. You don't have to use it. You can use Google Chat. You can use whatever you want, but workplace communication tool. Your assistant, especially if you're doing like remodel projects that are longer than a week in duration. Okay. For every new project we get, your assistant can then create a Slack channel for that project for 123 Main Street. And now anything about 123 Main Street project, pictures of the job, receipts, schedule, anything that's communicated about this goes inside that Slack channel, which is essentially a group chat. So instead of you doing that over WhatsApp or over iMessage, you just do it inside of Slack. It's recorded, it's historical, everybody can see it. And that's where you can tag people. Everything happens in that channel. So now as we're working on 123 Main Street, we've got the video that we did of whenever we were pricing the job. We've got a link to the pricing spreadsheet that we used. We've got a link to the proposal that's in there. We've got a link to the contract signed by the customer inside of that Slack channel. Then, hey, we've got this job scheduled for 8 a.m. on Thursday. Oh, running late to the job site. I'm going to be there at 8:30. I've got to go pick up more materials at Home Depot, just letting you know. Hey, don't, and then someone sees it. Hey, don't go get the materials at Home Depot. I've got some in my truck and I'm 2 doors down. Grab them from my truck, right? All that happened inside that Slack channel. Now we've completed 123 Main Street. Now we've got the invoice and the paid check, picture of the check already inside of there. Your assistant archives that. So now we can still access it if we need to go reference it, but it's not going to show inside of this
Right.
massive list of channels that we have. Your assistant can manage all of that. They can send messages inside of there to the team. Guys, don't forget, we have to have this done by Friday, whatever it is. Please send me your receipts. It looks like I'm seeing a lot of transactions come through QuickBooks and I don't know exactly what they're for. I need these receipts so I can match them properly to the job. Like your assistant can handle that. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
The next thing, if you have a good assistant and they're doing all this stuff for you, they don't want the job to be hard. So they're going to be optimizing. For example, this is a real example. Vicky, shout out Vicky if you ever listen to this. She's in Ecuador. She works for Sergio Garcia, who's in Oklahoma City. They had a huge problem collecting customer selections and preferences for the style of edges, for the measurements, for the appliances, all that different stuff. It just was a headache. They'd have to make calls. They wouldn't answer. They leave voicemail. They call back, but we weren't available. Vicky said, I had enough. I've made 15 calls today to get selections and I only got 3 answers, right? We're going to have a form. She makes a beautiful type form with logic. Where at the beginning, you go in, you put in your information, address, phone number, name, email, etc. Next thing it asks you is, what spaces are you going to be remodeling? You get to select from kitchen, master bath, just a general bathroom.
Yeah.
Right? Powder bath, that's what I was looking for. Fireplace. Then you've got workshop and you've got outdoor kitchen, right? All these different things. You select the ones that are there in it. Then it only asks you questions about those spaces. So if you just selected kitchen and fireplace, it's not going to ask you any questions about the other. You go to the next one. It says, okay, you're doing your kitchen. Select all the appliances that you're going to have. You've got everything that are going to affect the countertops. Everything from in backsplash. Do you have backsplash? Do you have just countertops? Are you doing a side edge of the countertops? Are you like a waterfall edge, I think is what it's called. Do you have a refrigerator? Do you have an oven? Do you have a sink? Do you have a stovetop? Do you have microwave? All these different things. Then it asks you dimensions of if whatever you select, if you only selected oven and sink, it's going to ask you what the dimensions of those are, right? And then it asks you, okay, what's your preference on color? Are you wanting, it gives you, and it has images of all those and you select them. And then it goes to the next page. Okay, what are the edges that you want? And it collects all of that information with real logic. And when you're done, it sends all of that into their project management system and it sends an email to Sergio.
Ready to go. Yeah.
Ready to go.
Put it on the schedule.
You do from there, she calls and she says, hey, thank you so much for filling this out. I'm going to run through this and confirm that we've got everything accurate, right? And she can do that on a voicemail. I've also sent you an email with a list of everything that you filled in, right? Get back to me if you see any discrepancies. We're going to get started on building this stuff out, or you're getting your template built out, whatever, from there. So that's something that the assistant did without Sergio prompting, because she realized this is
to make it easy. Yeah, and that's where you get really smart people.
Yeah, exactly.
And well, we're running up against an hour. I want to at least run through some of these other things. I mean,
yeah, go ahead. You listen.
I mean, just what you've already done, is email and calendar and document management, cleaning up documents, software management. And by that, I think we'll do another episode on that because that's a real important thing. But like putting away the Slack, archiving Slack information later on, cleaning up your Google Drive, organizing it. CRM and lead management, we didn't really even talk about that, but there are steps so that you absolutely never miss, ever miss an inbound, depending on what your website is. If it's a Squarespace or something, you've got somebody who can make some minor changes, maybe major changes to upkeep your website current. They can do customer service. I mean, that comes in the line of taking phone calls, do job costing, things that we want, create the systems and the checklists first for themselves, but also for
Mhm.
their team. They all
Mhm.
things that we all wish we could do, uh, but we just don't ever get around to it. Social media scheduling and posting. I mean, different skill sets, but anyway, that's something people like that can do. Make sure it goes out. Uh, Coordinating with your subcontractors, getting W-9s, getting the workers' comp certificates before they start working. You don't pay anybody anything till you have all those docs.
Yeah.
You got subcontractor contracts that go out and get filled in. Maybe you negotiate it, but they send them out. Uh, Material orders.
Mhm.
We've got stuff kind of in project management, maybe not full board, but uh, we've ordered all these materials to show up and we can't get started until they get there. The VA is, or the assistant is responsible for that. Um, Categorizing and archiving job photos, the checklist kind of things that you need to complete a job. They're responsible for following up and calling Bob out there on the site and say, get the damn pictures in, right? I've got a guy who, when they close out, the guy never takes pictures. And it's going to get him fired. Just take
Mhm.
the damn pictures.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't. And I mean, that's so important, not just for the job, but liability, all kinds of reasons. Um,
Yeah.
One thing we've had episodes on, but they can be responsible at a high level for fleet management. Let's say maintenance. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe this is too much, but uh,
Well, as you go through all this, I want to, yes, all these things are 100%
let
true.
me add one
I just
last
want to
thing is cash
go
flow
ahead.
report.
Yeah.
Somebody that puts a cash flow report on your desk every Tuesday morning
Yeah.
uh, is as important as job costing. But go ahead.
Yeah. The main point I just want to make is that, yes, you can find someone to do all of these things. Now, anybody listening is like, that's too much to handle in
Yeah.
reality. And that's true. It's not that they're doing all of these things at all times. The best way to move through this, in my opinion, you figure out what your constraint is as a business owner. Right now, lead generation is terrible. Like that's, if we just had more leads, things would be better. Well, they help you with lead generation, but not just lead generation. How can we improve our conversion rate? Quoting faster, being more diligent with our communication, better follow-ups, all these different things that happen, posting more to social media, making sure that, we're starting to work on ads maybe, and that the ad budget is sufficient, contacting a freelancer to help with a creative for the ad or whatever, that they can assist with that at that point, because that's the constraint. And then they can develop some sort of processes around that so that it can be done effectively. But then when you start getting all these leads into all these new jobs, you have a different constraint, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, now we need more guys. Like we don't have enough people to do the work that we just got from all these closing all these leads and improving our conversion rate. Okay, so now hiring is what we're working on. Now they're working on setting up systems for how we track applicants and how we build job descriptions, how we build job postings, then how we go through the onboarding process with these
And they
people.
can research all that stuff. I mean, if they
Yeah,
don't
it's not
know,
that
I
they're
mean,
an I want to
they're
be clear,
doing
they're
it
not going to be
all.
an expert at all of this, but just like you're not an expert at all of it, you're going to go
Right.
do it. They're assisting you in help and doing that. And they're
Right.
talking about it. They're asking you questions. What do you want to do here?
HR
Okay.
issues. Yeah.
Right. And then now you've hired all these people and you're doing all this work. Now you realize, oh man, we've got to do better operations. Like we don't have systems for our people. We don't know how to track all this work. We don't know how to do job costing. Then they can work on that stuff. You start realizing you got cash problems. They can start working on that. And as they move from one thing to the next, you're going to realize quickly that, man, it makes sense to hire someone to replace them from doing any of the lead generation stuff. And really what we need is like a sales development representative that can now answer phone calls, do follow-ups, manage CRM deals, make sure the ads are running, and handle all social media monitoring and conversations. We've now built all the systems with that with our owner's assistant. And now we've hired someone in that role and now they're full-time on that. So our owner's assistant can help with the next constraint.
Right.
Oh, wow. Now we've got all these HR processes down. Now we can hire someone to do HR if we need to. So
I think we
that's kind
have
of the
to
process.
throw on the end of it that the ones that I've been around because of you, principally, and some that not, pretty bright folks,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
highly skilled, a lot of them, and they'll work. Uh, they're not hugely expensive. They're not
Yeah.
nothing.
So no, they're not nothing. But I mean, if you can afford to pay someone $1,500 a month, you can find a solid person. And if they do well, you should definitely increase their salary. I think, prices are going up all over the world right now.
Do you
That's no
pay? Do
surprise.
you have to pay payroll tax and stuff if they're going
No
to
payroll
Ecuador?
tax.
It's
Nope.
fifteen
No,
hundred bucks.
no.
Is $1,500.
It's a 1099 contractor position. Now, you want to hire someone in the US, do it. You can. I recommend if you're really going to find someone that's really good. I mean, obviously, location depends where you are, but here in Oklahoma, if you can pay someone 40, starting 45, and be willing to get them to 70 at some point, then you can find a really good assistant, in
Yeah.
my opinion. And if they're with you for multiple, like maybe 10 years, you should be willing to get them to, I mean,
Take your
surely if they're going to
share.
stay with you for 10
Yeah.
years, you should be willing to get them to six figures if they're going to be that valuable at that point because they know everything about you, everything about your business, everything about your team, everything about your systems. I mean, they're just going to be that valuable where if you lost them, it would take so much to replace them. So that's what it looks like.
Well,
people
I
in
want
business.
to. There's something I do want to put in here that we need to finish with is you won't do it because you're self promoting. If you do it, I don't mind promoting you. Everything that we've talked about, you can do, and you could do this, and we could do that, and we could remember this, and we can pick Slack, and we can pick all these things. If I am the owner of my company and I'm running my day to day, that's almost an insurmountable sounding burden.
Yeah.
And if I do choose to do it myself, I'm not going to be very good at it. It's like me telling you, the CEO, you need to be a bookkeeper. No, you don't. You need to not be a bookkeeper. And I think what you've come up with, just so that people know it's an option, is that you go out and do a lot of this for them. Sourcing, walk them through the interview, help them make the Loom video that they're sending out. And then when you select the person, you sit with the owner and you, what do you want to call that? A referee, you don't referee it, but you're in the meetings as people get to know each other, you're guiding them. I don't know whether you do that for 3 months or whatever, but you help them pick the people, you help them write the systems, you help get it going. You're available to answer questions and increase the likelihood that it will work with this person to your benefit by triple, quadruple, fivefold, whatever that is.
It hasn't not worked for anybody yet.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So-
And it just
It's
eliminates
100% success rate.
all the ambiguity and all the things that are holding you back. You can just say, well, I still don't understand, but if it works that well, and I know that you could provide anybody who asks you, some of your clients, I could too, who would be happy to talk about it. What a life-changing
we
deal
got
it was.
episodes. We got an episode with Sergio all about this, how it just changed everything for him. I believe we even have an episode with Alex Weeks that
Do we
talks
talk
about it.
yeah, in passing, or was it a whole
I think it was just me and Alex talking about it.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
but yeah, I think it's I really enjoy doing it. So
Yeah,
if you're
and
interested at all,
it's
I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, it's an important. It's really important, and
Yeah.
so anyway, there you go.
Okay.
It's
Well,
still
thanks, Martin.
raining. Yep.
Thanks for asking.
You
It's still
too.
raining. Thanks for asking questions.
Yeah. Talk to you next time.
Okay. See ya. You made it to the end of the episode, but before you go, if you found yourself thinking about growing your construction business while listening today, I want to share something with you. It's called our 24 Things to Hiring and Training the Perfect Executive Assistant for Your Construction Business. And it's a free guide that we've created. It's not theory. It's what we actually use to help contractors hire the perfect executive assistant. And really, we help you find ways to delegate over 50% of your current workload and get back 20 hours of your time every single week. You didn't start your construction business to just be doing admin work, to be buried in paperwork and endless admin tasks. This is the guide that shows you exactly how to find and train someone who can actually take all that weight off of your shoulders. So this is a real actionable, great PDF that has templates and processes. It's really, really great. And I want you to check it out, even just to get your feedback and how we can make it even more valuable. But I know that you're gonna love it. The link is in the show notes. Please download it. Would love to see how much of an impact it makes on you and your business. Thanks for listening to the full episode. Check out the guide. It's free. No reason to hesitate. No reason to wait. Download it now. And before you go, I just want to ask for your gracious subscription to our podcast. So if you have 2 seconds, it means the world to us. Just subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or if you'd like our weekly newsletter delivered to your inbox whenever we release an episode, please subscribe in the show notes. Every week, we're talking about real strategies on how you can grow and build a profitable construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, and more money. Click subscribe wherever you listen to the show, and thank you again for checking out the Cashflow Contractor. See you on the next episode.